one of the things I was telling you about, so we're up to about 16 full-time staff now.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much I've told you about our staff before, but I would wager that probably 98% of us are formerly incarcerated.
Yeah.
I have a lot of my staff were just a few years ago in prison.
Yeah.
You know, we were talking, I got to watch one of our new staff for the Recovery Corps program I was talking to you about. He put together a PowerPoint presentation, and in that PowerPoint presentation, during COVID, he was in the pit at Menard.
Wow.
That's how fresh some of this stuff is. One of the really neat things that we have been able to do over the last couple years is to begin forging relationships with the drug courts and with the court system and with some of the jails and some of the law enforcement. And it's really neat to see formerly incarcerated people to have a chief deputy from a jail request a formerly incarcerated person to come work inside of his jail because he not only believes in what we're doing enough, but he believes in this person enough and believes in concepts like restorative justice, you know, like renewal and these new ideas that, especially in a conservative area, is refreshing to hear from somebody in that role.
Yeah.
You know, and it's been amazing. We've had some hang-ups too. We've had some challenges because some of our past.
It's going to happen.
It does. It does. If you don't mind, as we get started here, why don't you just kind of introduce yourself a little bit and kind of tell us a little bit about what brings you to, I guess, here at the Recovery Lab, but also to advocacy and to your educational work, and just kind of.
Oh man, there's so many layers to me. So I'm Quianya Enge, and I am a doctoral candidate at SIUC in Higher Education and Administration. I am also the founder and executive director of Beyond the Walls, which is a mobile unit resource services for the formerly incarcerated, mainly in Carbondale, Illinois, but we go as far down as Cairo if we have an individual that needs some assistance down there. What else do? I am, Beyond the Walls is the Southern Illinois partner for the Fully Free campaign, which is a campaign to end permanent punishments in the state of Illinois. And what permanent punishments are those barriers that returning citizens face when they have served their sentences, more like finding a job or getting housing, that sort of thing. What else? My goodness, I do a lot.
Okay, so let's talk about that right there. Let's talk about your work with Beyond the Walls. Let's talk about Fully Free. Talk about the idea of eliminating permanent punishments and kind of explain, like you talked about, what those look like. I have tried to kind of explain to people what it is a little bit, you know, and all I can think of is, it's because when we go to try to get jobs, you know, and people hold our past against us, and I do a horrible job. So if you wouldn't mind kind of explaining it a little bit, go into as much detail as you like.
Absolutely. So when we talk about ending permanent punishments or removing permanent punishments, we're talking about removing barriers. Mainly, it is the fact that if I was sentenced to 11 years in the Illinois Department of Corrections and I served those 11 years, why is it that I have a criminal record that deters me from being successful upon my release? I've served my debt to society because I was sentenced to 11 years and I've served 11 years. So that's what we mean when we're meaning permanent punishments. We had the ban the box movement, right? And so the box was supposed to be removed that have you been convicted of a felony?
Okay.
And that happened, but most employers don't respect that and they have not removed the box. So initially they're asking people, if you've been convicted, then that deters them from moving you forward to the interview process. We want to start judging people on an individual basis, right? We don't necessarily want to judge them, but we want everyone to be able to defend themselves, right? We should have that opportunity to say, I was 16, I was 19 when I caught this case. I served my time behind bars. I was sentenced, and now I am 29 years old. But that mistake that I made at 19, for whatever reason, because whatever reason I made that mistake, I served my debt to society.
Right. You paid.
Right?
You
I paid my debt to society, whatever the reason was that I did it.
Yeah.
But that still, at 10 years later, is a barrier from receiving a good paying job and being
Absolutely it is.
a successful member of society,
Yes.
right? Because that's what we expect individuals to do. We expect them to come out, because sentencing and going to prison is supposed to be rehabilitation.
It's supposed to be is a good word.
It's supposed to be rehabilitation. But you and I both know, as convicted felons, that prison is not rehabilitation.
Right.
Right? And so when we get home and we set ourselves up to be successful, because that's exactly what we do. We as a community, of formerly incarcerated individuals, we set ourselves up for success, and then we still have these legislative barriers
Yes.
that don't allow us to get housing. We don't qualify for public housing. We don't qualify for public housing because we're convicted of some sort of criminal act.
Right.
However, we pay taxes.
Yeah.
We pay taxes. We pay local taxes. We pay state taxes. We pay federal taxes. But we're not able to receive the services that our taxes
Right.
are paid into.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
You don't say, oh, they're a convicted felon, so they don't pay taxes.
Yeah.
Because taxes pay for public services.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah. Believe me, I'm well aware.
So taxes pay for public services.
Yes.
But you don't discredit me when it comes to paying taxes.
Right.
And say, oh, this is a barrier
Right.
as well. No, you make sure that those taxes are deducted. So we're trying to end permanent punishments. And we have set out with the Fully Free campaign. And it is an ongoing campaign to, currently in the state of Illinois, there are over 1,300 laws for people with criminal records.
Okay.
Set against
That's
us.
a lot of laws. Wow.
That's a lot of laws, right? There's a lot of laws set up against those that have criminal records on whatever level, right? And so what we're saying is we're at the state capitol now, and we're fighting for the FREE Act, which is House Bill 4490. So that's our initial act, our initial piece of legislation that we're going out trying to campaign for and lobby for. And the FREE Act says that currently the state of Illinois is one of 13 states that still does not allow individuals to be the executor of their loved one's estate.
Okay.
How about that?
Yeah, that's an odd thing. That's an odd thing to.
If you are convicted of any sort of criminal activity, you are not allowed to be the executor of your loved one's estate in the state of Illinois.
Have you? So I'm sure looking into this, have you been able to find any type of reasoning or other than to punish people for extenuating long periods of time?
Well, just off the fact of that Illinois is just ancient in laws.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of them haven't been revised or amended.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just haven't looked into them because if it doesn't affect you,
Yes,
you don't care, right? And so now we found something that people have become more aware of because people are building generational wealth.
Yes.
Right? And so we understand that these things are important, especially for the disenfranchised community,
Yes.
who this barrier will affect the most. So we have found that out, but here it is, 35 states that have amended their laws. And Illinois is still sitting in the background.
I have found that to be interesting about this state, and not to get into that type of politics, but for a typically Democrat or blue state or a progressive state, we seem to be far behind even other progressive states. You know, I talk about it a lot, you know, because our context of what we do is around recovery support, substance use treatment. One of the things that I've talked about as we have gone outside of the state to find new information to bring back to the state, that many other states are way ahead of this game than what we are. You know, and I talk about it a lot. I was like, you know, it seems like the state of Illinois seems to be 10 years behind everybody else. And then Southern
Especially
Illinois
when it
seems to
comes
be
to
another.
legislative.
Yes, and then Southern Illinois seems to be another 5 years behind that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so we are combating, 15-year-old resources, as you mentioned earlier, that have
Yeah.
that with a lot of that out migration of people and leadership, we're left with a lot of skeletons and stuff to support our communities with, and kind of like what we were talking about. So many of the communities are end up devoid of this leadership, devoid of this resource capacity, and nobody, like you say, people who are willing to step up, who are formerly incarcerated, and most of us are willing to step up. I have been amazed at the passion level that I have found from really good people who are both, formerly incarcerated, former substance use, formerly homeless, all of these things, how much we want to give back. But as you mentioned, we're excluded from a lot of those opportunities.
Mainly from local elections.
Yes.
We know that's the powerhouse of laws and those things that affect us on the immediate basis.
Yeah.
But as someone that is directly impacted by the justice system, I am not able to run for in the local election.
Yeah, I would have nodded
Right?
on that. Yeah.
I can't run for county council. I can't run for city council, but I can run for House representative.
Yeah,
I can run for the Senate.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
But
what
I
I'm saying.
can't-
That seems
but
odd.
I can't be a part of my local election. That seems that it is quite odd, right? That you don't want me a part of the laws and the making of the laws that affect me immediately.
Yeah.
And that's why we need to understand that. So we're on a campaign of secure the vote. And it's a campaign to get people out to register to vote, and mainly those that are directly impacted by the justice system. We want to wake them up and we want to activate their vote to get them out so that they know that if you are formerly incarcerated in the state of Illinois, you have the right to vote. Register to vote.
Right.
Right? You have the right to vote because these laws that affect you immediately, they're going up on the ballot. They're up on the ballot, and we have the opportunity to make a change.
Yes.
So you are eligible to vote if you are in the state of Illinois and you have been convicted of any crime. Once you leave the physical custody of the Department of Corrections, you can register to vote.
Yeah.
That is it.
Yeah.
And we want to wake this community up and tell them that your vote is powerful.
Absolutely.
There are over 600,000 people in the state of Illinois with a criminal record.
Oh, wow.
Okay?
That's
Do
a lot.
you
That's a
know
lot. That's a
how
lot
much
of
of
voices.
an impact those voices will be if they just voted?
Yeah.
And we're not even pressuring you to vote as of right now. That time will come. We want you to register to vote.
Right.
Just register. Let them know that you are aware of what's going on.
Right.
So it's important.
It is.
It's important for them to hear our voices.
So, and I think that you spoke about disenfranchisement, and that this is what happens to it is people check out of the system.
They do.
And they just check out and they just, my voice is never going to count. I know one of the things that I have been guilty of in the past, I caught my felony early on at a young age.
Yeah.
I never had a chance to vote. So I just grew up never doing it and never being concerned, I've just never been able to vote. And then come to find out when I got older, in recent years as I've gotten more socially active, that I can go back, I can start voting.
Absolutely.
And so so I plan on starting to do it some for the first time because I have kind of awakened to some of these issues and really seeing how through our work with the not-for-profit, how, like you say, sometimes just being on that list, just showing that I'm concerned enough to show up and register.
That's it.
Shows, a level that people, like I say, we become disenfranchised. We become conditioned to not care, to behave in a certain way.
Yeah, because we've always assumed that others didn't care about us.
Yes.
So why would we care?
Yeah.
Oh, my vote doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But it does.
Yeah. And then it goes farther than just your vote, because then it goes to my community. Why should I care about my community? Nobody else cares about my community.
No.
Look at the way we live. Look at what's going on. Nobody's coming to help us.
Yeah.
That was one of the big motivating factors. With us starting Take Action Today, is that we felt like other people were receiving a lot of grant funding to help our community. I live in West Frankfort. We were receiving a lot of grant money to help our community, but we saw our community getting worse.
Yeah.
And so we identified that nobody was coming to save our community. We had to do it ourselves.
I like how organizations come in and they say, "Oh, we're here to help you."
Yeah.
But they never asked us if we needed help.
Yes.
They never asked us what we needed, let alone what we wanted.
Right.
They said, they just came in and they told us that this is what you need.
Yes.
You have no clue of what
exactly.
I need.
You don't know what I've been through or what I'm going through right now. Yeah.
And that's why we are essentially, that's how Beyond the Walls started.
Okay.
Because this was my community. I have these lived experiences. I know that we all have different experiences as we're transitioning from prison into the community. I know that our transition, that reentry is definitely different for everyone. And so basically, we are not a monolith, right? We are not all the same.
Right.
And so we had all of these services, and there were services. And granted, I love it. I love that these services exist. There are services for mothers trying to get their children back. There are fathers who are going to be single parents. There are a mass amount of services just for men.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because we think women aren't part of the incarceration population.
Right.
Okay, there is no focus on women, but there is. We are large. Actually, we've increased.
Growing.
It's growing rapidly, mainly because women are suffering from a lot of trauma-based issues that aren't being taken care of, again, because we aren't paying attention to women's physical and mental health issues. Right? But that's another story. So here we are, we're saying, okay, we have all of these services, but what we don't realize is that we have a large population of individuals that have been incarcerated for the last 20 plus years that are being released.
Yes.
Right? And for whatever reason, they don't have the support system that they need.
No, absolutely they do
so
not.
There's a gap of services in there for individuals that don't have small children, mainly the woman population or those that identify as women. We have a huge transgender population here in Southern Illinois that no one is paying attention to.
Yeah.
And our trans brothers and sisters are homeless. They're hungry. Hate crimes are being made against them daily, right? They are being set out into sex trafficking to survive, to eat, right? And no one is paying attention to that. So Beyond the Walls is on a campaign. We're trying to raise funds to open up a safe house. We're part of the Safe House Network, a new way of life. And we're trying to open up a safe house. And it is a replicated program. It's a replicated program that started in LA. They currently have 2 homes in Champaign.
Okay.
And we're trying to model and we're trying to encourage our mayor in Carbondale to help us with funding and give us permits to open up these homes. So that's our goal right now, because we have just a gap of services.
Absolutely.
I believe that reentry is a holistic process.
Yes.
And it is about community sustainability.
Okay.
Okay? And when I mean community sustainability, I mean that the fact of, if we have a large population of homelessness, right? And people's property is being vandalized. You can't eat dinner because, there's a homeless person sleeping in front of the building. I can't go out to eat. All of these things that I feel like are just
went to the coffee
ridiculous.
shop this morning. There's a guy laying in the doorstop. What are we gonna do about this?
Right? Instead of saying, let's invest into a space where they can become successful community members, right?
Yeah.
Let's address the issue.
Yeah.
And so we aren't doing that.
Yeah. You're
We
right.
aren't doing
Exactly
that. Like,
right.
we're walking over people on the streets. We're walking past people and
Yep.
turning our noses up at them.
Mm-hmm.
The moratorium was removed during the pandemic. Carbondale is 78% rental properties. Property managers are evicting people left and right.
Yeah.
We have our homelessness population is increasing daily.
Guarantee it.
We're running out of space.
Mm-hmm.
We're running out of space to house anyone, and no one is doing anything about
Yeah.
it. Like they're just looking. We have the warming center, right? And again, this may sound horrible. So I'm
okay.
great. It's okay for us to have like the Boys and Girls Club.
Okay.
Yay, we love them.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I went to the Boys and Girls Club as a youth.
Yeah.
Right? We love them. But we have the Boys and Girls Club in Carbondale. We have the Irma Hayes Center in Carbondale. And we have all of these after school activities at our elementary and middle school. Right? Which is great.
Yeah.
Which is great for this population 12 and under.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
But we know that idle minds
Oh yeah.
lead to
Right.
disruptive things, right? So we don't have a space for our youth.
Yeah.
We don't have a space for our teens
I hear that so often.
to release the energy that they built up in school all day productively.
Yeah.
You know, artists, everything. And so we've built these spaces for our youth 12 and under, and then we just let them go
Yeah.
when they get to high school. Because not everyone is into sports,
Right.
right? And so if you aren't into sports, then what do you do?
Yeah.
What do you do? Right? You don't have anywhere to go. You have nothing to do. And then we have the shootings. We have kids overdosing, because partying is drugs, because they don't have another outlet. We have all of these things. But we do have this young man in Carbondale named Justin Dittman,
Okay.
who has purchased out of his own pocket the old Carbondale High School.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
He is interested in having events for the youth, for young teens, young adults. He did a whole midnight run basketball thing for those teens that were just out in the streets after midnight.
Sure.
They should have been their little selves at home.
Yeah.
But they were out, and so he opened up his building to this whole midnight run basketball, and it was a huge success. However, he is running out of funds, and we can't even find a way to help him repair the roof of the building so that there can be a safe space
Yeah.
for our teens
Right.
and our young adults. I mean, it's great that we keep on building and investing in these other spaces.
Yeah.
We want to, but I mean, we're a population of 25,000. How many spaces do the children 12 and under need?
Sure. Sure.
How many spaces do they need?
Well, I think that, and I think that I think that we get into the problem is how it has to be, it should not be an either or type of thing. It should
Exactly.
be.
It should be inclusive.
Yes.
We should
there should
consider
be something
all of
for
them.
everything.
We should consider all of them.
It's not
But
that
I feel like this group
younger
is being let
programs.
out.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
feel like they're being left out.
I think everybody does. That's one of the most common things I hear from people is, what about programs for young people? What about programs for adolescents?
Yeah.
In West Frankfort, we have a homeless shelter there for adolescents. I think it goes 13 to 24.
And why do we?
I think it's
why do we
23 or
need a
24.
homeless shelter for adolescents?
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
why do we need that?
Yeah,
Right? And I feel the same way about juvenile jail.
yeah.
Why do we need a juvenile
Now
jail
you're talking
system?
my language. Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Why is that? We feel like these sorts of cases should be diverted to community-based organizations, grassroots organizations that are about healing
Absolutely.
and helping and providing opportunity and
Yes.
influencing, encouraging, empowering.
Yeah.
I lived in the city of Chicago, and I promise you, I spent more time at the Abraham Lincoln Center as a teen than I probably did at home.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
It was a space for me to go meet with my peers. It was a safe space.
Do something.
It was a fun space. I was encouraged. I was influenced. I did all of these things there, and it was great. And they even took us roller skating. I came every Friday. We went to the Rainbow. We went to the Rainbow roller skating rink every Friday. At some point, they were just like, we're not going to even be asking parents for money. We're just going to find money. We're going to take these kids skating, right? And so there isn't even a skating rink here. Well, not here. Maybe not here as well, but definitely not in Carbondale.
Yeah,
and I think
there's
about
one in Marion, but that's it.
Yeah, I think about the population in Carbondale, and I say we have our college students that don't have an outlet space as well, right?
Yes.
Other than sports. Like we have a small esports arena and a bowling alley on campus. I mean, but how many times are you going to go play video games and bowl?
Yeah.
Right? There is no sort of arcade, outlet, sort of physical activity space. And I'm always thinking about if the students that aren't from here only find themselves at bars.
Yes, there's plenty of those.
There's plenty of bars in Carbondale. I want you to know I've never seen so many bars in my life as a 43-year-old, okay? And I'm from the city of Chicago.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, so we are encouraging our youth to pick up bad habits, right? So we're encouraging perspective trauma-based spaces instead of building something that can be encouraging and motivating and possibly building innovation.
Absolutely.
Right?
We're losing out on a lot of potential.
We're missing out on a lot of potential because we aren't being inclusive. We are not being inclusive when it comes to resources and services. And I feel that I've been in Southern Illinois since 2017, and I feel that every time I visit a community down this way, there's so much untapped energy from the youth that they aren't investing in.
Yeah. And then they come of age in an area with very little economic opportunity. One of the things that
So great that you would just slide right on into that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Well, one of the things that I figured out about recovery is outside of stable housing, stable food, that type of basic stuff, the economic empowerment is the key to recovery. And that when people are excluded from economic opportunity, that breeds hopelessness, it breeds despair, and that is what our communities in Southern Illinois, regardless of Carbondale, Metropolis, West Frankfort, regardless of race, regardless of political affiliation, the despair and hopelessness, is what so many of our communities, I feel like, are dealing with. And I feel like that economic opportunity is one of the best ways that we can support by opening up jobs for people, especially formerly incarcerated people. But like I said, people in recovery from substance use.
Absolutely.
Creating spaces like you talk about that are inclusive of people who have dealt with these challenges, mental health challenges.
Yes.
We're beginning to identify that so many of us struggle with mental health challenges, especially post-COVID. How do we, and right now, if you look
even those of us who felt stable.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? Even those of us who felt stable. So could you imagine someone that was living in trauma?
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
That was battling a mental health issue at the hit of the pandemic.
Yeah.
Right? Imagine them, and imagine as someone like myself. Prime example. I thought I was as stable as they came.
Yeah.
I've worked through all of my trauma.
Right.
I am great. Right? We always say we should check on our strong friends too. Right?
Absolutely, we should.
We should check on our strong friends too. Because at the hit of the pandemic, they locked us, they shut us down. And I felt like I was in isolation in prison.
Yes. Yep.
And I lost it.
Yep.
I lost it. I had a panic attack. I didn't know what to do. And here it is. I went directly back to behind that wall when I could have literally just stepped outside of my front door or my back door. I could have done that. But my mind went into, oh my God, they have locked me up again.
Yes. Yep. I've lost control.
I have lost control. Here the government is taking control of my life again.
Yeah.
How do I respond to this?
Yeah.
So if your strong friends are going through this, what about our individuals that we know with mental health illnesses?
Absolutely. And I'll add one more component further to that. Like you talk about going through all that stuff, and then here comes the American government talking about, we have your best interest at heart. Do what we tell you to do. We're going to look out for you. And then you watch around, especially what happened in the Black community.
Yes.
You know, with the disparities in the healthcare system. And you watch that happening while the government is once again telling you they are looking out for your best interest. I was talking to a judge a couple days ago. We've had some issues with some of our court programs, and I was trying to explain this to this judge, what it was like to be a formerly incarcerated person as a peer specialist in their courtroom, explaining to her that we are conditioned to respond a certain way to you, you know, and so when you say things to me, or when I feel like you are pointing a finger at me, it triggers those old emotions. Like she was trying to tell me, and I know she was trying to do good, but telling me how much she cares about me. I'm looking out for you. I'm looking out for your program. And I told her, I said, Judge, I with all due respect, I get what you're saying, but I've had people tell me they were concerned about me while locking me up for most of my youth. Absolutely. And you have to understand that I bring that into this space with me. And my staff do that. And I am here, you know, and we were kind of debating about, peer support's new, you know, what type of what requirements we need to meet to work with probation clients. You know, so it was a kind of interesting conversation to have. I got to express a little bit about that to her, but, you know, it's just helping them to understand, like you said, we carry that with us. So you're dealing with the people who have a lot of trauma like that or other things, and then you get locked up, and then you get told to take a vaccine, and you're looking around at everything that's happened in the past, and then you're looking at all the controversy that's stirring around it now, and you're like, what do I do? You know, and you're stuck in your house by yourself, isolated and insulated. You know, and our media did not help at all.
Media did not help at all. It was horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what we are building. I just completed this program, Just Leadership USA.
Yes.
And it definitely teaches us that we are not looking for a seat at your table.
Right.
We're building our own table.
Right. I love that.
We are building our own table. We are the ones with the lived experiences.
I love that.
We are the experts at this. Those with lived experiences are the experts. You can't tell me anything about this judicial system.
Right.
You can't tell me anything about it.
Yeah.
I am the expert at this.
Yeah, because I've been there.
Because I've been there. I'm 20 years in and being the expert at this.
While you were at home in your bed, I was in there living it.
Living it. And so we are building. We're building our own tables.
Yeah.
We are building our own tables of leaders, and we have strong, capable, brilliant leaders.
Yes.
That are leading the way, that are encouraging individuals to get up. I love it. There's a quote by Booker T. Washington that says, "We are who we've been waiting for."
I love that.
We are who we've been waiting for. You can wait on people to come and save you all day. No, you are who you have been waiting for.
Absolutely.
That is it. And I love that. That's like one of my most favorite quotes, because who's going to come and save you, Quianya?
Exactly.
Nobody. Those whole 11 years and 7 months, I am like, I cannot be in here serving time for someone else's actions. Something's going to happen. The system is going to do me right, and we're going to resolve all of this.
Yeah.
No. Okay?
Right.
No. It never happened.
Yeah.
It never happened. The system gave me my time. They made me serve my time.
Yeah.
And then they sent me on about my way with nothing.
Yep.
Right? They snatched me from everything and sent me home with nothing. and for me to figure it out.
Yep.
And just for me to figure it out all on my own. And I cannot sit by and watch those returning
Right.
to the communities that I live in, and know that there is nothing
Yeah.
valid
Yeah.
waiting on them.
Yeah, and I feel like it just, and we know, we don't think we know that it just perpetuates that cycle of recidivism.
It does.
Because, like you talk about, they come back to a place where there was nothing for them to begin with, and there's nothing for them now.
Nothing.
Now they have a record and the sentence hanging over their head, so they're even farther behind than what they were.
Absolutely.
Well, that's one of the hardest things I have trying to explain to people where some of our peers come from. Because maybe at an early age we started at a good place,
Yeah.
but because of whatever reason, I don't even call it our bad decision making anymore, because there's so many things that factor into it. But we ended up way back here, and we've got that much farther to go, and you can't expect people to act like they started from the same place.
Absolutely.
Because we came from a very different place. And sometimes it's a bad, a lot of times it's a bad thing, sometimes it's a good thing. I tell my staff all the time are so worried about, we're going to mess up Take Action today. We don't want to ruin it. And I'm like, bro, we built this from scratch. We're playing with house money. You can't mess this up.
You can't mess it up.
And that's kind of my attitude about a lot of things. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. But, man, I was homeless at one point. I got on a bus with nothing but a trash bag. But even before that, I was a juvenile delinquent, locked up. Most of my youth I spent locked up.
Yeah.
So I've come from a place, to where, like I say, I feel like I'm playing with house money. For all intents and purposes, we're firmly entrenched in the middle class now.
Yeah.
Like you say, we have a good experience with that stability. I have a strong, stable family right now. Things that I never imagined would happen, but it took me 22 years to get there. And that's one of the hardest things to try to explain to some of our peer staff. Most of them are very young in this. It's like, bro, this takes 22 years. It doesn't happen right away.
It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen overnight. And so that is part of my current research in my doctoral program.
Yeah.
I am in the process of building economic stability for the formerly incarcerated.
Yes.
Right. So often we are that barrier. We face that barrier of unemployment, and we come out with these great ideas, and we just need a little kickstart.
Yep.
Right?
A little support.
So just a little support. And so I am in the process of building a pilot program with the SIU Small Business Development Center. And what we are doing is we are building a program, a small business startup program, breaking business barriers for the formerly incarcerated.
Okay.
Right? We are the population that has a difficulty in obtaining capital. And so we're going to be working with some local financial institutions that are going to do some micro lending. And we are going to get those that come to the table and that are ready to start. It'll be a small group. It's just a pilot program, but it's definitely something that we can look forward to spreading across the state of Illinois. And other states have these programs going on already, and they're doing very well. So we're excited about that.
I bet.
We're excited about that. We just amended the law, the food truck law in Carbondale. Previously, before July of 2022, you could not own a food truck in the city of Carbondale if you were a convicted felon.
What? What does that even have to do with anything?
What does that have to do with anything?
Yeah.
I can't feed people if I have a criminal record.
Yeah.
I'm so confused by it. I can't be a small business owner if I have a criminal record. It was just very weird.
Yeah, exactly.
However, this law has been amended, and so we are progressing, but this is what we're talking about when it comes to legislation and Illinois, and more so Southern Illinois.
Yeah.
Because why is it any issue for someone that has a criminal record to own a food truck?
Absolutely.
I mean, ice cream truck, some offenses that you have to be on registries, you're dealing with kids and parks and all of those things, possibly.
Yeah.
But a food truck?
Yeah, I still feel like even that, I guess you couldn't keep kids from coming up to an ice cream truck.
Right.
Yeah.
So possibly.
You can't get them to quit buying Fruit Loop vape.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Let alone
so that may be so when you're dealing with some other demographics.
Yeah.
But A food truck?
Yeah.
No.
That's just, like you say, that just blows my mind.
It does. It does. And it's very disheartening to see laws placed so that people don't succeed.
Right.
Like these laws were set in place
Yeah.
to set people up for failure. We're talking about the system is about rehabilitation,
Yeah.
but it's about increasing recidivism.
Yes.
It's about increasing recidivism.
Yeah. That's a harsh reality that
It is.
people are slow to recognize.
And very slow to recognize. The system is about increasing recidivism. It has nothing to do with rehabilitation, because if it did, then we would have more things set in place to divert convictions. We have a 92% conviction rate in Southern Illinois. Right?
You know what's
We have
so
a
funny is how much
92%
people talk about how people just get away with everything. And then you hear something,
We have a 92% conviction rate in Southern Illinois, right? And 45% of those convictions are African Americans.
Yeah. Well, how much of a percentage of the population does that make up?
15.
Right.
It's actually 13 point something.
Yeah.
But more so if I go from Jefferson County to Cairo, I'll say 15%. 50, we take up 15%, we make up 15% of the population, but we're 45% of those convicted, and we have a conviction rate of 92%.
Yeah. That's what people don't.
That's a problem.
People do, and I know, and people do not want to acknowledge that. They're,
And then that's when we move into the Safety Act.
Yeah.
And, all these elected officials and candidates are running, and they're putting fear in people's heart about the Safety Act. But this population is the population that's being convicted.
Yeah.
This disenfranchised community, right? And so we say, well, how does that happen? Well, we can't afford, we're living in poverty, right?
Absolutely.
We are a very, very impoverished community down here in Southern Illinois. The median income is $23,000.
Yep.
Who lives off of $23,000?
Yeah.
And that is great. That's a good salary, right? Because we know that some families live way below that, right?
Yep.
We have families living at half of that as their annual income that use supplemental spaces like food pantries and making sure that their kids get to school early to eat breakfast, have breakfast and lunch, because they can only afford to feed them dinner, right? Or that they're getting dinner from free services, mainly like the service that you guys provide here, right? So we know that families are living way below the poverty level, right?
Yeah.
But we aren't doing anything. We aren't doing anything to build economic stability.
Right.
We aren't doing anything to educate their parents, employ them, find reliable transportation. Transportation is a huge issue.
Yes, it is.
In Southern Illinois, especially for someone that is on probation or parole trying to complete service plans.
Yep.
Right?
That you got to show up at an office so many times a week, and they don't care what your job tells you got to do. And man, we could talk all day about how difficult the situation is for people.
They don't care at all.
No,
they don't care at all.
Yeah, because you go back to jail, they don't care if
you can go back to jail, because what is the system set up to do?
That's what they're
increase recidivism. The system is set up to increase recidivism. It is not set up for rehabilitation or success.
Definitely not success.
Definitely not success.
And even the people inside the system say that, and they're like, we don't understand. It's not, it's like it's set up to fail. We feel like it's set up to fail. So everybody's left with the shrugging their shoulder talking about, we feel like it's set up to fail, but nobody wants to fix it. Or maybe nobody's figured out how to fix it.
You know what I think it is? I think it doesn't directly affect me.
Yes, I think that is it. What is that, apathy?
It is apathy.
Yeah.
It is. It literally is. If it doesn't affect me personally, I don't want any parts of it. And then this is how we break down the sustainability of our community.
Yeah.
Right? Because we're feeding we're feeding the jails with all of this funding when we could be investing this funding into centers for our adolescents, right? We could be investing this funding into I am the chairperson of Jackson CEO,
Yeah.
which is a high school entrepreneurship
Yes.
program, right? And we could be funding this. We could be funding this program.
Yeah.
We could be funding, we're building entrepreneurs. We want to, shop local, all of these great things. But how do I shop local?
Yeah.
I have to shop where local will take my state locals don't take my state supplements.
Right. 'Cause
Right.
they're small businesses.
They're small businesses, right? So local, the prices have increased. Like, so I had to shop where I can afford. But if I was given the opportunity to increase my household income, I probably could shop local.
Yes.
I probably could be one of those local shops.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
But these barriers are strategically set up to decline me from all of that.
Right. Create this exclusionary system.
Yeah.
Like you talk about that traps people not only in those economic and social situations, but within our communities too. That's one of the things that I try to talk to people about is and people, especially in some of the rural communities, don't like hearing it, but the reality is that most of the people that could move out of your community have moved out.
Yeah.
So you are left with the people who were there.
So why not, as a community,
Yeah.
make this a better space to live for everyone?
Absolutely. So if we support those people rather than continue to try to, and it's not just punish, but it's all kind of people who find themselves excluded. If we can support those people and make them into an asset. One of the things that I love about the things I've learned in the last few years is strength-based approaches, finding out what's right with people, what's right with communities, and amplifying that till it makes up the difference, till it pulls everything else up. How do we do that? That's a strong motivator with me and Take Action Today.
Like
in some of the communities.
when I meet with clients as we're going out to spaces when people return home, we don't do an assessment interview. We do a motivational interview.
Oh yeah,
right.
You're right.
So we do a motivational interview. We're like, oh my God, we're so glad you're home. We're going to love on you. Please come here. I mean, are you a handshaker? Are you a hugger? I'm a hugger. If it's okay, I'm so happy you're home. What's your favorite thing? Like, what's your favorite color? Like, what did you like before you left that you want to try now? Because you may not like that now. You may like something different.
Yeah.
And then we go into the fact of, what is it that you want to do?
Yes.
Right?
What do you want to do?
What do you want to do? Like, you've been away from the free world for a long time, and you thought about something that you wanted, because it may not necessarily off the back be, I want to go find a job, right? Because we may have some social skills. We may have some social barriers.
Sure, absolutely.
Some skills that we need to build on that. But, you decided to parole to Southern Illinois to your aunt's house. Okay, well, have you ever been hiking?
Yeah.
Right? Have you ever been hiking? We have some beautiful hiking trails down here.
Oh, we do.
Have you ever been cycling on a bike trail? Right? And so we just talk about, we're motivating them to get up, get out and explore.
Yeah.
And that's all we're doing. And then we'll move on to the meat and potatoes of things. Like, what's your path look like?
Yeah.
How can I help you get to the space that you want to be in?
Yeah.
Let me help you on this journey. Are you interested in going back to school?
Absolutely.
Right? Are you interested in going back to school? Do you want to start a small business? Right? Because we know most small businesses start right out of your room.
Yep.
Right?
Absolutely, man. I tell people our corporate office looks like my living room.
Right. So we know that. And so we are there to motivate them.
Yeah.
Oh, do you have your driver's license? Let's go get your license, right? Let's take a couple of driving tests and road little trips, and that's what we're doing.
Yes.
That's what we're doing. We're a group of volunteers. We haven't gotten any funding yet, but we're getting there.
I love that.
We're getting there. We're a group of volunteers, and we're a group of directly impacted volunteers.
Yes. Lived experience.
So we have that lived experience, and we consist of males and females. We haven't gotten anyone in the trans community to come on with us yet, but we haven't been connected with a trans client yet. So we're hoping that we're able to fill that gap in also for just different disabilities and that sort of thing. So we're slowly working and building a community, but we just want to let people know that we welcome them.
Yeah.
We're excited for them to be home.
Yeah.
We want the best for them, and whatever connection I have is theirs.
Yeah. That's empowerment. And that's what I love. I mean, and that's so much about what we do here, and we do it in the context of recovery support.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what it is. It's the motivational interviewing, helping them to identify their own goals, and then because many people don't have the skills, of like, how do I make a plan?
Yeah.
Most of us don't.
I've been told for 11 years, every decision that I'm going to make, you get up at 4:00. That's what you do. I'm going to give you an assignment, and that's where you go.
Yeah.
I say it's time for dinner, and that's where you're going to go. I say it's even time for you to go out and rent.
Yeah.
When I lock your door, you're not allowed to get out and go to the bathroom.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So most people have not been given the opportunity to make their own decisions in a very long time.
Yep.
So we want to give them the opportunity to transition into that space and make decisions.
Yes.
And we're hoping that the space that they parole to allows them the opportunity
Absolutely.
to do that as well. But again, like I said, we are trying to establish a safe house so that people can transition there and go through this journey on their own time.
Yeah. We are, so I serve as a co-chair on the State Recovery Advisory Committee. We had a gentleman come up from Arkansas. I believe he's the State Recovery Coordinator, for IDHS, formerly incarcerated person. I think he's been about 8 years out. Amazing advocate.
So have I.
Yeah. Okay. Congratulations. Now,
3 days.
yeah, 3 days,
3
huh?
days, October
Do you
16th.
celebrate that every year?
I do. It's my new birthday.
Yeah, I bet it
It
is.
is my new birthday.
It's like freedom.
So, oh my goodness.
I
And
still.
I do something. I do
Yeah.
something outdoors.
Yeah. We talk a lot about the smell as being the most distinct thing that all of us remember. Like, some of us talk about how we could see pictures of a prison cell and catch the smell.
Yes.
I don't like going into jails for our jail program. My staff member in there, he knows it too, and he's always like, hey man, I'm surprised you haven't come by and visit my office. But I just walk in there and that smell triggers my trauma
I'm
from
sure it
all
does.
those years. And
I'm sure it does.
I'm like, I can't be in this environment. I get so jumpy, I feel like they're not going to let me out, and these are my buddies, they're coworkers, peers of mine, that have embraced me as a peer of theirs.
When I drive, what is that? When I drive past the prison when I'm coming from
Yeah.
Mount Vernon. What is it?
Big Muddy?
Big Muddy.
Yeah.
So I drive past Big Muddy, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Just something comes over me. I usually take another route
Yeah.
so that I don't have to drive past.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, if I was there,
Yeah.
and every time I went out to the yard and I looked across the street at the college,
Yeah. What an irony.
what an irony, right?
Prison and college across the interstate from each other.
It's the most, I don't even know how to explain the feeling. I just feel like my heart has just dropped
Yeah.
out the bottom of my body.
Yeah.
Like it's just gone.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, and I try to get past that space as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
I'm promising you
Yeah.
that I am going 100 miles
Yeah.
to get past that space. And I'm always like, that's just the most eeriest thing ever.
Yeah. I was talking to a gentleman the other day, and he said he used to just sit on that yard and just watch cars go by and think about all of his family and people that he knew that had a similar car, and he would just imagine that was them, know.
Yeah.
And
It has to be the hardest thing ever.
Yeah.
It has to be that space I would not have wanted to be.
Yeah. I carried so much of that with me for so long, and I didn't realize how. I was one of those people, I never played innocent to anything that I ever did. I always felt like I deserved what I got, and I carried that into my adulthood, even after I left some of that stuff along. Behind, I was like, well, this is the repercussions of my past. I made these bad decisions, and that carried with me through a long time. I tell everybody, and I was one of those people that was real skeptical about going to college. I was always like, oh, college is a scam. We should emphasize, vocational schools. And that, like everybody else, I parroted some of the same
I agree with that too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, we need vocational training back.
Yeah, it's been such an empowering experience. And I had a GED. Because I was such a bad child, they wouldn't let me finish high school. It's like, you can't come back in here. And I felt like my whole life that limited me, and I felt like there was nothing that I could do.
Wow.
And it's one of the most, I get really emotional, or have in the past when I start talking about me getting that diploma was something I never would have imagined. Wow. Because I felt like the limitations that I had on my life were self-induced. They were my fault. Now I've learned about how my own childhood trauma factored into that. I've learned how social factors factored into that, and then getting into the juvenile system and my own undiagnosed mental health issues, because I've later found out as a young adult that I'm bipolar. Yeah. And so after that, I'd already spent most of my youth in and out of jail. Yeah.
Instead of getting the services.
Yes.
Proper health and mental health evaluations that you needed.
Yep.
And getting you the services that you needed.
Absolutely.
Instead, they decided to punish you.
Yep. And the whole time felt like it was my fault. I deserved this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was just recently in the last few years, and it's what I felt like I've exploded as a person over the last few years, and that college experience has been a key part of that.
Oh my goodness. I was convicted in 2004. And I was a college student. Okay. I was a college student when I was originally arrested in 1999. That was my freshman year of college. Okay. That summer. Yeah. School has always just come so easy for me. Okay. It was just a thing. For a period of time, my friends would say that I didn't have much street smarts. Yeah. And that was okay by me because I wasn't out in the streets much. Right. Right. But school had always come so easily for me. And I tell people that school is a culture. Yeah. Right? Okay. So higher education is a culture. And it's like any other social space that you find yourself in. You will, at the beginning, you will always be the new person. Yeah. Right? But if you stick around a little bit, you learn how to navigate the space. Yeah. And it becomes your own. Right? Absolutely. And then you start to invite your peers into this space. Yeah. Like, hey, this is a really nice day. Oh, I really don't. Just try it. Yeah. Right? Just try. You know how we influence people to do not so positive things. Right, yeah. Right? Oh, beer is really good. Taste this. No, I really don't do that. Just try it. Right? And so that's how I am when I'm inviting individuals into higher education, right? I'm always like, oh, just try it. You might like it. And now I have people that are receiving their first degrees, or they're going, and now they're like, oh, I'm going on to my master's program. And I'm like, yes. Yeah. Hook, line, and sinker. You're in it now. I know. I remember when I first I came home, and mind you, when I was incarcerated, I took college courses. Yeah. So that was a complete blessing for me as well. Yeah, okay. That was a blessing. I came home with 126 credit hours.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Well, plenty of time on your hands.
Plenty of time on my hands. Plenty of time on my hands. And that allowed me to only need one more semester at my original institution, which was Northeastern Illinois University. And that staff and that team, rest in peace, Dr. Conrad Worrell, welcomed me back in, wrote letters of recommendation, got me the financial services that I needed. Wow. I completed my undergraduate in 2016. Yeah. I came home. It took a little while. I came home in 2014, and May of 2016, I walked across that stage with my bachelor's degree. Then I walked across the stage in 2019 with my master's degree, and I will be receiving my doctorate in higher education next summer. That's so awesome. In August, and it has been a absolutely amazing journey, a true blessing, and Actually, my capstone's title is Beyond the Walls, Access to Higher Education Post-Incarceration.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And so here we are because we have these institutions that are educating behind the walls, right? We have all these schools coming in. Oh, they just opened the Pell back up to individuals that are incarcerated. But what we haven't talked about and we haven't touched bases on is the barrier.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We're talking about ending permanent punishments.
Yeah.
The barrier of access to four-year institutions.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So we know that firsthand, right? Access to four-year institutions as someone that has been directly impacted by the justice system is not an easy feat.
Yeah.
It is not easy.
No.
They do not want you on their campus.
Yep.
You are a safety issue in their eyes until you prove yourself, until you go up once again, until you go up in front of that review board.
Yeah.
Right? So you're sitting in this room with this group of people. No one at the table represents you. So here we go back again with Just Leadership USA. We're not coming to sit at your table. We're building our own table. Right?
Yeah.
Our CEO, Deanna Hoskins, is absolutely amazing. She's so encouraging. But we're building our own tables. So I am the expert on this.
Yeah.
And I should be in this space.
Absolutely.
Which is why my major is higher education and administration. Because I need to be there when you're writing these laws against people and not allowing them access.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, I started talking about the gentleman in Arkansas earlier, and he was describing Arkansas has a much more developed peer network and peer development program, and every step of the way is designed by people in recovery. And he just reiterated, I mean, they developed a career ladder for people in recovery to move through these different stages. Every step of the way, it's not people outside of recovery making the decision, does this person advance? It's boards formed by people in recovery. Their ethics guidelines are made by people in recovery. And one of the mottos, I'm sure you've heard it, that we talk about a lot is nothing about us without us.
Yeah.
You know, and it's having people with that lived experience.
In restorative justice, it's all of us or none.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So it's all of us or none.
Yeah.
And we absolutely mean it. Like, wouldn't it be so great that in the reentry process, in restorative justice spaces, that we would lead like that? We'd have so much success, but we know that the state of Illinois' economics in the state of Illinois is built on our prison system.
Yes.
So we know that those that sit at the table will not allow that to happen.
Right.
And so that is why it's so important for us to get out and register to vote.
Absolutely.
And vote, because we are voting these people out of the space, and we're putting people in that will support us in building a space that is inclusive.
Absolutely. And that's why that leadership development is so important.
Leadership development is extremely important.
Because we have to do it better than other people are doing it. Mm-hmm. Just to get anywhere with it. I talk to our people, because of our past, we are low-hanging fruit for accusations. You have got to live that much better above reproach. And that goes for everything, the whole movement around us. We have to do good work to open the door for other people.
And that's why the end of Beyond the Walls is the movement.
Absolutely.
And that is exactly why it is the movement, because we are moving. We are moving forward, and we want people to understand that this is a movement. This is nothing here to just sit stagnant, but we are moving. We are progressing.
Absolutely.
Every step we are progressing. We started off with 2 people.
Yep.
We got 5 volunteers now. And, so we are moving. We started off in Carbondale. We've reached people in Cairo. We've reached people that come from Cape Girardeau into Cairo and even into Carbondale. So we have a client base, and we are moving forward, and that is the purpose of it, to let people know.
What is it? Newton's third law, first law, whatever. An object in motion tends to stay in motion.
Yes.
So you get things moving, and that's where most people lose momentum, is that getting the movement started. But once you get started, there's no telling what it can be. Well, Quianya, I've told you, and I cannot express how much you inspire me.
Thank you.
I feel like we have just barely touched the,
Oh my
the tip
goodness.
of so many different conversations.
Yes, so much.
I hope that you come back at another point in the future to talk more about some of these subjects. I've got so many other things I'd like to talk to you about too. But is there anything that you would like to say before we cut out, or any last burning desires, as we say in AA?
Well, all I want to say is absolutely thank you for the invitation. This was fabulous, and I would definitely love to come back and talk about some other things. But the pressing issue is right now is for those that are directly impacted by the justice system, get out and register to vote.
Absolutely.
Even if voting is not on your heart, take the first step and just register. It is important that our voices are heard and we are securing the vote so that we can build wealth for our children and our grandchildren. So it is important that we get out and make our votes count.
Awesome.